All right, good morning, ladies and gents, boys and girls, kings and queens, and everybody else. This is the start of Chapter 8, which is obviously a completely new unit from last unit. We are moving on. This is a unit talking about shapes and geometry, so everything that we learned last unit is still pertinent. It's still really important because we're going to be using all of those formulas and things again this unit, just in more detail. I know, settle down. I'm extremely happy to announce, and I'm sure you're happy to hear, that we have visiting again in the studio, Charles McFarlane. Oh, thank you very much, Nukes. It's great to be here. Charles just came in unexpectedly, but we're happy to have him help out, and hopefully we'll get his input on some of today's lesson. Absolutely, you will. All right, let's move on here, and let's talk a little bit about what we're going to be discussing. We're going to be talking today about 3D shapes, and before we do that, let's talk a little bit about one dimension. Oh, you're talking about the band? One dimension? Love them. No, I'm not talking about the band, but we are talking about one-dimensional. One-dimensional shape is just a line, basically. It's something that goes only across. It does not go up and down. It does not go forward and back. It strictly goes in one direction along one plane, forward and backwards. So this would be a one-dimensional shape. It is a line. How exciting. Its units are usually measured in just the unit by itself, centimeters, not centimeters squared, not centimeters cubed, just centimeters, because it's, again, one direction, so it's really to the power of 1. But we don't need to put the 1 there. It's just understood to do that. Second thing we should know is two-dimensional shapes. A two-dimensional shape is a shape that goes across and up and down. So this one goes across. Triangle goes up and across that way, and it also goes up and down. So it is a two-dimensional shape. It has a length and a width. It's just flat. What are you calling fat? Did you just call me fat, Nukes? No, Charles, I said flat. It's a flat shape. Oh. Just remember that when we did the area of a flat shape, we had our units in centimeters squared, and that little number 2 basically tells us that it's two-dimensional. It is how many little two-dimensional centimeters squares can we put inside of a triangle. So that's the space inside. Finally, today, bringing us to where we want to go to, which is the third dimension, or 3D. Again, stands for third dimension, if you're not sure where that came from. Oh, I know what you did now, Nukes. You brought me in here because I'm three-dimensional. You're talking about my belly. Charles, no, it's okay. I did not bring you in here because of your belly. It has nothing to do with your three-dimensional shape. Oh, you're not fooling me, Nukes. Anyway, the 3D shape, as you can see in these drawings, which aren't fantastic, but they kind of get the point across, it is shapes that have a length, a width, and a depth. So when it's got depth, it's got some 3D. Here you can see there are shapes. We've got a cylinder, which is just a circle that extends all the way back three-dimensionally. We have, it looks like a square in the front here, and it has depth, which makes a box. And we have a pentagon, and it extends back, and it has depth as well. So we're talking about the third dimension now, and it's a 3D shape. What else do we have? When we're talking about 3D shapes, there are some terms that you're going to need to know and be familiar with. The terms are, as you can see here, faces, edges, and corners. A face is any flat surface. So if you look over here at this box, it's just a rectangular prism. It's got on the front, it looks like it's a square, so that's one face. It has the exact same face on the back. That's two faces. It's got a side face over here, which would be another surface. It's a rectangle, which is 3. It's got a matching one over here, which is 4. And then it might be a little bit confusing here, but I'll put them in green. It's got a bottom of the box, which is the 4th face. And the top of the box, which is, sorry, that's the 5th and 6th face. So there are 6 faces in this shape. So front, back, side, side, top, and bottom. And that's in any rectangular prism, any box shape. So a face is any flat surface. And it's two-dimensional. An edge is basically a line or where two faces meet. So if we look over here at this is a triangle and it's a prism shaped, so it stays a triangle all the way back to the back, so that's why it's called a prism. It's got a line every time a face meets. So where this face meets this triangle right here, where it meets is an edge. So this green would be an edge, and it's just essentially a line, and it's a line where the two faces meet. So if we were going to count up how many edges are in this shape, we would have an edge here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This one has 9 edges. And finally, a corner. Most of you know what a corner is, but for our purposes today, it is where 3 or more faces meet. It's a point, basically. So here we have a corner right there because that's where 3 faces meet, the 2 top ones and the front face. So if we count up the corners here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We have 12 corners in this shape. All right, what do you think about that, Charles? Oh, that's lovely. All right. Next, we want to talk a little bit about a pyramid versus a prism. No, they're not playing a game against each other. It's just what's the difference between a pyramid and a prism. Well, I don't know, Nix. How am I supposed to know that? Well, luckily for you, Charles, is that I do know that, and I'm going to help you out here. A pyramid, if you think about the pyramids in Egypt, on the bottom, they're actually a square. So there, I'm going to make kind of a parallelogram, but it's a square, and on the top, it comes to a point, and that point comes down to each corner. So that is kind of like a pyramid in Egypt. Again, it's got a square on the bottom. It's 4-sided, and each of the side faces are triangles going up to a point. A prism is different. A prism, let's say we had a prism that was a triangular prism, is a triangle in the front, and it's a triangle in the back as well. It stays a triangle from front to back. So that is a prism. It's triangular throughout. This is a pyramid, which goes up to a point. And you can have obviously different shaped prisms. This could be a square prism. It would just be a square in the front, and a square in the back, and each corner would line up. The dotted lines are ones in the back that you can't quite see, and some of these should be dotted as well because you really couldn't see them because they're kind of behind the shape. Let's see if I can erase some of that. So again, that would be a square prism. This would be a square pyramid. You could also have a triangular pyramid. You could have a triangle on the bottom, and it goes up to a point on the top like this. That would be a triangular pyramid. It's not a very nice triangular pyramid, but it would be a triangular pyramid nonetheless. You could have a pentagonal prism if it was a pentagon in the front, and a pentagon in the back. It's not very pretty, but you get the point, is a prism stays the same shape throughout. So, not overly difficult. Finally, can you decipher between how many faces, edges, and corners some of these shapes have? So you're going to have to try and think of what the shape looks like by knowing what the difference between a pyramid and a prism is, and then count up how many edges, faces, and corners that you think that they have. Charles, why don't you try the first one? The first one is a triangular prism. Oh, Nukes, I can't remember what the difference is between a prism and a pyramid. They both start with P. Let me just go back and have a quick peek at this. All right, a pyramid has a point at the top, and a prism doesn't. Okay, let's see here. A triangular prism, faces. Let me think about this. Triangular prism. It's got a front and a back. So, like, you know what, Nukes, I'm going to draw it. I can't remember. Oh, I think it looks like that. Like that. Okay, maybe I should draw them, and it might help me out. Charles, that's a brilliant idea. Boys and girls, learn from Charles. Anytime you can draw it out to help you, by all means, draw it out. Oh, that's way easier now. Let's just have a quick look. I've got one to the front, back, bottom, side to side. That looks like 5 faces. Very good, Charles. Edges. What the heck is an edge? I've forgotten what an edge is. I'm going to have to go back and have a quick peek. An edge is a line. Okay. How many lines make up this shape? Let's see. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 edges, Nukes. Hey, nice job, Charles. 9 edges indeed. 3 at the front, 3 at the back, and 3 that connect them. And I think I remember what the corner is. I think the corner is how many points are there? How many corners are there? There looks like there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Where's the count when I need him? 6 corners. Nukes, how's that? I've got 5, 9, and 6. Charles, that's brilliant. That's exactly the right answer. Way to go. Well, thank you very much. All right, let's try a square pyramid. Again, square pyramid is square on the bottom, pyramid on the top. This is going to be a really ugly one, but I apologize. It all comes to a point right there. So how many faces we got? We got 4 on the sides and 1 on the bottom. We would have 5 faces. Is that right? Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a bottom. 5 faces again. And edges, how many lines do we have? Well, how many lines does it take to make this shape? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 edges. And how many corners? Well, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and a point on the top. 5 corners. And finally, a hexagonal prism. Again, if you can't remember, you're going to have to draw it out. A hexagonal prism means it's a hexagon in the front, which is 6-sided. Do your best to draw it. As you can see, I'm not an art person, but just make 2 of them. The prism, remember, stays the same throughout, so it's going to be a hexagon on the back, hexagon on the front, and join the corners that correspond with each one. Alright, that's kind of an ugly shape, but it is a hexagonal prism. It's a hexagon throughout. It's tough to draw, but you can do it. How many faces are there? Well, there is a front and back, and then there's a top, this side, the bottom 6, 7, 8 panel over there. That would be 8 faces. So 6 that go all the way around it, and a front and a back. How many edges, how many lines are there? Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then the same 6 on the back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then 6 joining lines. So that's 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 edges. And finally, how many corners are there? Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the back, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the front. So, there you have it, boys and girls. That's the end of this first lesson on 3-dimensional shapes. You will need to know, again, the difference between a prism and a pyramid, what a face, an edge, and a corner is, and basically what a 3D shape looks like. Thank you very much to Charles McFarland for dropping by, and we will see everyone tomorrow. Good night.
Good night.